Hello and welcome to our special edition of X News, coming to you from the Human Project.
X News. X News.
X News.
X News.
X News.
X News.
The UK currently wastes up to 15 million tonnes of food per year, of which households are accountable for 63%. This amounts to 17 million tonnes of CO2 released from landfill, which, if prevented, would be equivalent to taking 1 out of every 4 cars off the road. 30% of the food we produce is wasted, but waste doesn't just occur in the home. In fact, loss occurs in all stages from the seed to the shelves. These include production, post-harvest, and processing stages. But are we, the public, the only culprits? Supermarkets aren't innocent either. For example, Tesco generated 30,000 tonnes of food waste in the first 6 months of 2013, with up to 68% of bagged salad going straight to general waste. The French government has taken the first steps towards tackling this growing problem in order to reach their goal of halving the country's food waste by 2025.
So, it would appear that a substantial proportion of our food waste is driven by industry, as companies strive to meet public demand. This commonly leads to oversupplying, resulting in the excess produce destined for landfill. We spoke to a number of local businesses about their policies regarding food waste, with some interesting results.
2 days before it's going out of date, or best before, we put 20% on it to encourage people to buy. The day before we put 50% on, and then on the day, so it just encourages it to get moving.
Send it to like a food bank or something like that, and then if there's not a lot, it just goes into the bin. And bread and stuff gets sent up to the bin.
Well, obviously some things have got to be wasted if they're out of date, but other than that, we tend to take stuff home.
Yeah.
Or I put it out for people to sample. You know, we try and minimise as much as we can wastage. You know. Yeah. I mean, we've got crisps there at the moment. Best before date was May.
Yeah.
So I sold them half price.
Yeah.
And they're going because they taste fine.
Because we have other shops which is connected to this one, we usually pass that food on to them to sell.
So, how important is it to the public that their food arrives in perfect condition? Are they prepared to eat veg that doesn't quite meet company standards? Or bread that's a few hours past its sell-by date?
Most certainly.
Yep, great, thank you.
I do eat misshapen veg. I also eat veg, which is a day or so past its sell-by date if it looks all right.
Particularly potatoes, because you can knock the edges off, can't you? And normally get away with that one.
Definitely, because they're putting a safe time on it. You know, it's usually you can get a couple more days out.
I would definitely eat misshapen veg, and as long as the food smelt and looked okay, I'd eat it after the use-by date, for sure.
Interesting. So public opinion doesn't quite seem to match up with what businesses think that we want. Perhaps here is an example of potential for reducing our food waste, namely adapting company regulations to accommodate what people really want. But how else could we reduce our food waste output?
In the UK, we could reduce food waste by only allowing the same amount of people to ever attend one place at one time, the same as each other, with the same amount of hunger.
I guess the most obvious thing would be to buy less food, shop on a weekly basis, and sort of plan out meals in advance. So I think if you shopped with a shorter time scale, then you're probably less likely to have food waste.
Trying to get people to share meals more, rather than like students cooking individually, get them to double up, and you probably waste less food because they're not buying for themselves. Joe?
Possibly just being educated more on how to keep our food fresh, what produce to buy, and using your freezers appropriately.
That's a very good point.
To make other meals with those, basically, like making it into, like, if I had roast beef into a spaghetti bolognese next day, which I'm tending to do now.
I think supermarkets could give past use-by-date food to charity, or donate it to food banks or something like that. Yeah.
Obvious options are to give away food, right? Lots of people who need food or who want to have more food, and throwing it in the bin seems a terrible waste. Making people more aware of the fact that food doesn't have to look perfect and be perfectly shaped in order to be edible, and in fact perhaps recommending flavour of things that are misshapen. This idea that if things have grown in the wild, suffered the weather and the climate, then they will be misshapen, but they'll taste better for it. So I think reminding people about their taste buds, and then sharing food with people who need it instead of throwing it away.
We may waste food at every stage of its processing, but it's clear from these responses that the public is buzzing with ideas for how we personally could do our bit to combat food waste.
Um.